August 258, Rome under siege. August, AD 258. The Roman Empire is crumbling. Persian armies threaten the eastern frontier. Germanic tribes raid the north. Plague ravages cities. Economic collapse looms. Emperor Valerian desperately needs someone to blame. He finds his scapegoats in a growing religious movement, Christianity. On August 1st, Valerian issues his most brutal edict yet. All Christian clergy, bishops, priests, deacons must be executed immediately. No trials, no mercy, just death. August 6th. Pope Sixtus II celebrates Mass in the catacomb of Praetextatus, hidden underground where Christians worship in secret. Roman soldiers burst in. They drag Sixtus from the altar and behead him on the spot, along with 4 deacons. Blood soaks the sacred space. 3 days later, the purge continues. 32-year-old Lawrence, archdeacon of Rome and the last surviving deacon, knows his time is coming. The treasures of the church. Lawrence isn't just any deacon. As archdeacon, he's essentially the Pope's chief administrator, managing the church's finances, distributing charity to Rome's poor, safeguarding sacred vessels and relics. He's young, charismatic, beloved by Rome's growing Christian community. Born in Spain around 225 AD, Lawrence followed his mentor Sixtus to Rome and rose rapidly through church ranks. Now with Sixtus dead, Lawrence controls what Roman authorities want most, the church's legendary wealth. The Roman prefect summons Lawrence to his tribunal. "I know Christians have vast treasures," the prefect says. "Gold chalices, silver plates, precious gems. Your pope is dead. You're in charge now. Surrender the church's riches to the emperor, and perhaps your life will be spared." Lawrence bows respectfully. "Of course, Your Excellency. The church's treasures are indeed vast, but gathering them will take time. Give me 3 days, and I will present everything of value." The prefect, anticipating mountains of gold, agrees. 3 days. Lawrence has 72 hours before the trap springs shut. The most valuable treasure. Lawrence doesn't run. He doesn't hide the wealth. Instead, he does something brilliant and utterly defiant. For 3 days, he walks through Rome's poorest neighborhoods, the slums where disease festers, where the elderly starve, where orphans beg. He liquidates church assets, selling gold vessels and converting them to coins. Every denarius goes directly to the poor. Widows receive funds, orphans get food. The sick receive medicine, the disabled get care. Lawrence methodically distributes every last piece of church wealth to those who need it most. On the 3rd day, August 10th, Lawrence returns to the prefect's tribunal. But he doesn't come alone. Behind him stretches a long procession. The blind, the lame, the diseased, the starving, the destitute. Hundreds of Rome's most vulnerable citizens fill the courtyard. Lawrence spreads his arms wide and declares, "Behold the treasures of the church. These are the precious stones, the pearls more valuable than any gold. These widows and orphans are the church's crown jewels. This is where our wealth truly lies." Rage of the prefect. The prefect's face turns purple with fury. This Spanish upstart just mocked the emperor. He liquidated imperial property and gave it to beggars. He brought Rome's human refuse into the tribunal as if they were treasure. The humiliation is unbearable. The prefect rises from his seat, trembling with rage. "You dare mock the emperor? You think yourself clever? I will teach you the price of insolence. Prepare the gridiron." Roman executioners drag a massive iron grate into the courtyard, a gridiron similar to what's used for cooking meat over open flames. They build a fire beneath it. Not a quick, hot blaze that would kill mercifully fast. A slow fire, low flames, maximum heat with minimum speed. They're going to roast Lawrence alive, like meat over coals. The prefect wants him to suffer. Hours of agony. Lawrence will beg for death. He'll recant his faith. He'll curse his Christ, or he'll simply scream until his voice gives out. Either way, the prefect wins. Stripped and bound. Executioners tear Lawrence's clothes off. They bind his wrists and ankles with iron chains. 4 guards lift his naked body and place him face down on the gridiron. The iron is already heating. Smoke rises from beneath. Lawrence's skin touches the metal. The sizzling begins. Flesh starts to cook. The smell, roasting human meat mixed with burning hair, fills the courtyard. Spectators cover their noses. Some turn away. Others watch with morbid fascination. The prefect expects screaming, begging, the usual human response to being burned alive. But Lawrence doesn't scream. Not at first. He prays, quietly. His lips move, forming words only he and his God can hear. Minutes pass. The fire beneath intensifies. His back reddens, then blackens. Blisters form and burst. Fat begins to melt. Still, Lawrence prays. The guards exchange nervous glances. This isn't normal. People don't pray while being roasted. They break. They always break. The impossible jest. Hours pass. The August sun beats down. The fire never stops. Lawrence's body cooks slowly, methodically. His skin splits. Muscle tissue chars. The guards feed more coals beneath the grate, rotating the heat to ensure even burning. Still, Lawrence hasn't screamed. He's groaning now, low guttural sounds of unimaginable pain. But no pleas for mercy, no recantations, just those quiet prayers mixed with occasional groans. Then, impossibly, Lawrence speaks, not in agony, in mockery. His voice, strained but clear, cuts through the crackling flames. This side is cooked enough. Turn me over and have a bite. The courtyard goes silent. Did he just make a joke? The prefect stares, dumbfounded. Lawrence, being roasted alive, just told his executioners to flip him like a piece of meat. Some guards laugh nervously. Others back away, suddenly terrified. This isn't human. No human being jokes while dying on a grill. The final words. The executioners, unnerved but following orders, actually flip Lawrence onto his back. Fresh skin meets scorching iron, more sizzling, more smoke, more of that horrific smell. Lawrence's face, what's left of it, turns upward. His eyes, though blinded by heat and smoke, seem to stare at something beyond the visible. Perhaps heaven, perhaps his Christ, perhaps nothing. But whatever he sees, it gives him strength for one final statement. I thank my God that I am worthy to enter his gates, Lawrence whispers. Then, addressing the prefect directly, Wretch, you have roasted one side. Turn the other and eat. It's not quite clear if those are his exact words. Different sources report slightly different phrasings, but the meaning is consistent: defiance. Even as his organs fail, as shock sets in, as death finally approaches, Lawrence refuses to give his torturers satisfaction. He mocks them. He jokes. He turns his execution into a sermon on courage. And then, finally, mercifully, Lawrence dies. The aftermath. The prefect orders Lawrence's charred corpse removed and buried. Roman Christians secretly retrieve the body and inter it in the catacomb of Kyriaka on the Via Tiburtina. Within decades, Emperor Constantine, Rome's first Christian emperor, builds a small chapel over Lawrence's tomb. Pope Pelagius II later constructs the Basilica of San Lorenzo fuori le mura, one of Rome's 7 principal churches. The gridiron itself becomes a holy relic, now housed in the church of San Lorenzo in Lucina. Lawrence's martyrdom spreads across the Christian world with astonishing speed. By the 4th century, he's one of the most venerated saints in Christendom. Why? Because his death wasn't just martyrdom, it was theater. A young deacon facing the most brutal execution imaginable didn't just endure it, he mocked it. He turned his torture into satire, his pain into comedy, his death into triumph. That kind of courage can't be forgotten. Fact or legend? Modern historians debate whether Lawrence was actually roasted on a gridiron. Some scholars note that Valerian's edict ordered immediate execution, typically beheading for Roman citizens. The gridiron story might be legendary embellishment. A scribal error could have transformed passus est, he suffered, into assus est, he was roasted. The Liber Pontificalis uses the same term for Lawrence as for Pope Sixtus II, who was definitely beheaded. But early church fathers believed the gridiron account. St. Ambrose of Milan wrote about it. The poet Prudentius described it in vivid detail. St. Augustine preached about Lawrence's gridiron martyrdom. These weren't casual mentions. They were emphatic declarations written just decades after the event. If the gridiron was pure fiction, why would so many early Christian writers embrace it so quickly? Perhaps because, true or embellished, the story captured something essential about Christian courage under persecution. The legacy of the gridiron. Today, St. Lawrence is the patron saint of cooks, chefs, comedians, and firefighters, fitting for a man roasted alive who joked about it. His feast day, August 10th, remains one of the Church's most celebrated. Every artistic depiction shows Lawrence holding a gridiron. It's his symbol, his signature, his eternal punchline. The church that Rome tried to burn survived. The empire that killed Lawrence collapsed. Christianity, strengthened by martyrs' blood, eventually conquered Rome itself. The gridiron reminds us that the most powerful weapon against tyranny isn't violence. It's the refusal to be broken. Lawrence could have saved his life by handing over gold. He chose to give it to the poor instead. He could have screamed and begged on that grill. He chose to joke instead. That's power. The kind of power emperors can't touch. The kind that outlasts empires. On August 10th, AD 258, a 32-year-old deacon faced the most sadistic execution Rome could devise. And he laughed. That's the story of St. Lawrence, the man who was literally grilled to death and still had the last word.